In the Middle Ages, when the Great Ottoman Empire was at the peak of its power, stubbornly trying to conquer Christian Europe, almost every rich Turk had a harem in which his wives and concubines lived. The size and wealth of the harem were considered a source of pride, emphasizing the prestige of the owner and his position in society. Therefore, the harems of the sultans often numbered hundreds of women, all of whom pleased just one man. They could consist of many palaces and other buildings, reaching the size of an entire city. Such a scale led to the fact that the harem became an isolated society in which women lived according to their laws. They had their factions, leaders weaving intrigues and trying to turn their master against his rivals. In essence, the harem was a state within a state. Any state's secrets were freely discussed there. Fresh rumors always filled its corridors. Oddly enough, it was the female society that worked better than any spy. Well-chosen wives and concubines could turn their man into the ruler of their life. Contrary to established stereotypes, the harem was not an Ottoman invention. The harem was passed to the Ottomans from the Arabs, namely from the Abbasid Caliphate. Islamic law prohibited the enslavement of Muslim women, and the concubines were these same slaves. Therefore, throughout history, most of the inhabitants of the Arab harem were captives or slaves from other countries who came to the Arab world as a result of successful wars or trade. However, the social status of the concubines was very high. Often they became mothers for future sultans or caliphs. Such, for example, was the Caliph al-Mansur, born from a concubine. Well, Greek concubines were held in special esteem by the Arabs and Turks, quite likely due to numerous and successful wars against Byzantium, which resulted in a large number of captives. However, under the Arabs, harems did not receive either the influence or the fame thanks to which they went down in history. The Ottomans, who always had a close cultural connection with the Arabs, adopted many traditions from them, including the harem, but they added something new to them. Thus, under the Ottoman rulers, the prestige of concubines increased sharply. Now, these were not just captives of other faiths, but often even the opposite. The daughters of the rich Turkish aristocracy became concubines in the hope of kinship with the Sultan's family. They were taken at the age of 6, taught etiquette, reading the Quran, and many secular sciences. Naturally, the future concubine was required to be a righteous Muslim. In addition to obtaining a place in the harem, the girl's parents were paid a generous reward, which was also a very significant incentive. This led to the fact that the sultans began to choose even future wives from among the inhabitants of the harems. Among other innovations, the Ottomans introduced the office of eunuch into the harem. He was a castrated man whose duties included protecting, serving, and entertaining a huge number of women. It was believed that the castration operation was most easily tolerated by Africans, and therefore most of the eunuchs belonged to the African continent. Eventually, the number of eunuchs and their influence became so great that they created their guild and even began to rule the harem itself. The chief eunuch could independently select new concubines for the sultan's harem and make decisions on punishment for those who were guilty. Often eunuchs even participated in state politics. The structure of the sultan's harem was also curious. It was divided into 3 conditional levels. The lower or common harem housed ordinary concubines and maids, and the upper harem housed the sultan's favorites. At the same time, there was also a separate luxurious palace complex in which the sultan's wives lived. Naturally, most often it was possible to advance up the career ladder in a harem only through bed. When the sultan chose a girl, she had to spend the night with him. Her further progress depended on this night. If the sultan turned out to be disappointed, then the unfortunate woman could even be kicked out of the harem. If not, great wealth and prospects awaited her. The girl's pregnancy was of particular importance. If, after the night spent by the sultan, she turned out to be the mother of the sultan's child, then her position in any case became very high. However, if for 9 years a woman could not become either the wife of the sultan or the mother of his child, she could leave the harem, receiving her own home and a husband, whom the sultan's administration helped to find. In general, if we talk about the standard of living of those years, concubines and harems could not complain about being treated poorly. It was an honorable and lucrative position, and if a woman was lucky enough to become the mother of the sultan's child, then all doors opened for her. Such women were called valide sultan. Often they were eminent gray and, with the tacit consent of their sons, exercised power over the entire empire. Harems ceased to exist with the defeat of the Ottoman Empire in the First World War. Kemal Ataturk came to power in the country, abandoning many traditions for the sake of the Western way of life. But harems still retain their place in history. Thanks to everyone who watched this video to the end. To find out about the latest releases, you just need to subscribe to the channel and click on the bell. Also, leave your thoughts in the comments and give it a thumbs up. See you soon.